Hey everyone, Christian B., Burnaby, Vancouver-based real estate agent, and welcome to another edition of Rapid Fire Real Estate, where today I'm going to touch on 3 topics, and you can take that intel with you out into the marketplace. And as always, if you need further assistance and guidance, you can find me by my contact in the show notes just below. All right, for today's video, I want to touch on 3 topics. First, why you should not buy in Gastown. We're going to get into that. Second, where can you find some deals on mortgages and interest rates? And third is just an overall snapshot here of the market for March 2025. Where are sales? What am I seeing here on the front lines? Okay, first topic is Gastown and why you shouldn't be buying condos there, especially if they do not have parking. This is a big issue. I was talking with my wife the other day, and she told me one of her colleagues lives in Gastown, and as you may know, a lot of the Gastown is Vancouver's historic district. A lot of the buildings have been converted or refurbished, and they do not come with parking. So where do you park? Well, you park on the street in some instances. And so this person has had their car broken into 3 times this year. I guess a friend of a friend who, similar situation, lives in Gastown, does not have parking in their unit, parks occasionally on the street, has had their car broken into twice in the last 3 months. So this is anecdotal, of course. I don't have specific stats here for you. I presume you might be able to look up car thefts somewhere on the VPD, Vancouver Police Department website. Needless to say, crime is becoming a big issue down there. Street crime, things like shoplifting. I've seen that firsthand. But what I want you to take away from this as a buyer is that be very careful if you're buying in Gastown. A lot of those units do not come with parking. They remember, these are older historic buildings. They were built in an era where people didn't drive automobiles. And so you need to find parking accommodations. There are some parking facilities down there, but even I was having coffee with a friend 3 weeks ago who was just downtown for I guess to catch up with his friends and had his car broken into. The issue here is that it's not a good time to be buying in Vancouver East Side, especially Gastown, and especially if you don't have a parking associated with your unit. It's probably not worth the headaches and the hassle. Make sure if you're looking at buying the East Side, especially Gastown, that it has parking. I wanted to give you a snapshot here of what I'm seeing. There's a total of 57 listings right now, active listings on the downtown East Side. And in the last 6 weeks, there have been 7 sales. And I'm going to give you the short summary snapshot story here for 4 of them. Of these 7 sales, 4 of them lost money. 2 of them, I can't tell you what happened because I don't have access to pre-sale records. That's not public information. And one of them was a townhouse that sold where the owner made a lot of money, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so we had 7 sales in the last 6 weeks on the downtown East Side. 4 of them did not do so well. Who are they? What happened? Okay, first example here, without giving you the addresses, is a unit that was purchased 5 years ago for $631, recently sold for $629. So that is basically they lost money there, right? We haven't even factored in real estate fees, mortgage cancellation fees, and on top of that, legal fees and property transfer taxes. There's another unit here at Kiefer in Maine. Was in 2017, the owners bought it for $670, and they recently sold it for $725. So a little bit of a gain here, but remember, once you factor in all the fees, I think the most they made is $15,000. So that's $15K in 8 years of ownership. That's $2,000 a year. Any wonder why buyers are sitting on the sidelines in the condo market? Now, any wonder why builders won't build when buyers don't buy? So you can see the trickle-down effect. Third example, this is also a unit on Cordova, 2-bed, 2-bath, bought 6 years ago for $880,000 in 2019, sold recently for $845,000. And they lucked out, I think, on that as well. And then finally, we had a townhouse here that was bought in 2009. So this is prior to Vancouver hosting the Olympics. Sold for $1.6 million recently. So they did really well, but that's also a 16-year holding period. You know, when you're holding real estate that long, you're going to weather all these storms, pandemics, and tariffs, and global financial crises, and so on. Interestingly enough, this person would have bought it during the global financial crisis at a soft spot in the market, so they actually pulled the trigger at the right time. And that being said, they had this listed 9 months ago for $1.9 million. So you can tell even then they had a much higher expectation and had to settle for $300,000 less than what they wanted originally. But presently, 57 listings on the market. And as I said, of the 7 that did sell, 3 of them lost money. Sorry, I said 4 in the beginning. I 3, and 1 of them basically just barely broke even here, plus the townhouse. Okay. What I want to do now is and maybe final thing here is that I don't see the Vancouver East Side getting better anytime soon. All right, interest rates. A quick thing here. With all the talk of Trump tariffs, one of the silver linings here has been that rates have come down. Even on the fixed side, I have seen rates as low as 3.99% at some of the credit unions. And I've got an example of Coast Capital is offering 3.94%, and this comes from one of the mortgage sites online. Again, this depends on your situation. Sometimes this is like a sort of a teaser rate where they, to get you in the door, but you may not actually qualify for what they're offering you. Still, at 3.94%, those are some very nice, low, attractive rates. And if you do the numbers on that, let's say you asked me to help you buy a 2-bedroom in Burnaby, for example, Brentwood or the Edmonds area, $800,000. Let's say it's a concrete building. It might be 15, 20 years old. You're getting about 800 to 900 square feet, 1 parking spot, a decent building, nice and close to the SkyTrain. That might only cost you about $800,000 right now. There's some decent options out there with all this extra inventory. And if you look at the mortgage amount if you put down 20% and you have to come up with the rest from the bank, let's say a mortgage amount of $620,000, with that low interest rate, you're looking at payments of $29.27 per month. And that may be as much or lower than what you pay in rent. So it's going to be interesting here as we follow the months to come, when rates get so low to the point, and the variable is expected to come down a couple more ticks here. If we see the variable come in under 4%, as well as the fixed option, you might start to see some tenants who can afford it say, why am I renting if it costs me the same to own my own property, if not less? So we are getting very close to that point. That's the takeaway. By the way, when that has happened and you see that it is cheaper to own than it is to rent, and it is so for a prolonged period of time, let's say 6 to 9 months, generally people start to wake up, and then you get sort of the droves coming into the market, and it's like a stampede. So hopefully that doesn't happen too soon yet for my buyer clients anyway. Okay, and the last topic here. We hadn't had a March this slow since 2019. Most of this is obviously talk of tariffs. Sales were down 13.5%. There's just a lot of uncertainty in the market right now. And the slowdown really be in effect since Canada Day. Canada Day 2024, we saw the market really, really start grinding to a halt. And of course, we saw that Bank of Canada respond with interest rate cuts. So buyers are having a field day in certain pockets of the city. I know I can say for Surrey, I was out on Surrey on Saturday with a client looking at a condo. For sellers selling, you've got to be priced very sharp. And especially in a neighborhood like Surrey where there's just so much supply now coming on the market. Buyers, I've got realtors calling me back from my Saturday field trip with my client, just, not quite begging for an offer, but I can just tell through the follow-up that they're really, really grasping to try to get some buyers to come to the table and bring an offer. Okay, folks, I hope that helps. If you've got any questions, comments, opinions, leave those in the show notes below. As always, great to have you with me, and I wish you a very good week. Bye for now.